and everything that we do in life is all about eventually being happy. Happiness is the ultimate goal of life. Levels of happiness could vary, but the higher the level of happiness, the best it works.
Favorite line that I always, love to talk about, and something that I love to use on myself is also that, there is nothing that can't be worked on, right? Everything in this world, almost everything, right? Almost everything is something that can be worked on, could be, developed, right? Could be improved. We as human beings have such amazing capabilities and capacity that once we identify a certain thing, we can definitely try to improve on the same.
If you're really, if it is paining you, probably it's not your strength area, it's a weak area, right? If maths pain you, probably maths is not your strength area. If you love talking with people, maybe communication is your strength area. So some of these things, you will know it yourself. Further, apart from that, do ask your friends. Please ask your friends, what do you think I'm really good at? And they will tell you, rattle down those 3-4 things that you're really good at. Ask your parents. And sometimes parents also tell, मेरा बेटा इसमें से बहुत अच्छा है, मेरा बेटा मैथ्स में अच्छा है, मेरा बेटा दोस्तों के साथ बहुत अच्छी तरह से रहता है. They keep telling these things oftenly without you noticing it. So whatever they repeatedly tell about you, good about you, is your strength area, right? So ask your teachers. Teachers observe you. They see your scores, they see your habits, they see your behaviors. Based on that, they will tell you what you're really good at. Second thing,
what are the changes that's happened? Things that are looking very different is work from home may continue to be a way of life, because organizations have realized, people have realized that nothing, there are lots of things that can be done as well from home and possibly better. And those professions will perhaps continue to enjoy the benefit of working from home, if I might call that. Education and training have already gone digital, but there's a lot of scope of improvement. And with that, there would be a lot of training of the trainers that will come into play. We perhaps will not have to travel so much for work, because earlier we used to just take a flight for a 1-hour meeting to Chennai, or for some training session to attend in Dubai. And that's definitely
the way I look at analyzing work, or a analogy to work, is more to do with your mind, where you do your all logical things, your aspirations, everything is logical.
The message here is, we all have our starting points, we have our journeys, and we have our destinations. So today it might look like we're not headed anywhere, but in the end, it will all work out. So there's no need to be disheartened at all. And it is absolutely fine to be an average. The second part of the story goes where it comes about finding your own mojo. While I was an average student, I ensured just one thing. I kept my desire to learn and keep that fire inside of me ignited. Whether it was traveling, meeting new people, or even exploring new cultures, it was all about upskilling myself for me. Although while learning, I didn't really know where that was actually heading to. But then if I were to look back and think and connect the dots, I have the job that I have today only because of the skills and knowledge that I.
The Time Tracker app is designed to know where and how can your activities be revised and your time can be used effectively. In the Time Tracker template, you're supposed to input your activities and the amount of time you have spent on them. Statistical data will be provided on the basis of that, which will help your mentors to take further action. The benefits for working professional are identifying if you need changes in your time management to optimize results, helping you get clarity on goals and creating new ones if needed, identifying what creates positive energy which can be unleashed for you to maintain your work-life balance. The benefits for university students program are identifying if you need changes in your time management to optimize results, helping you identify and work on positive energy creators in your schedule, events, and people as well. Identifying areas for productivity, success, and happiness. The benefits for school students are identifying if you need changes in your time management to optimize results, helping you get clarity on goals and creating new ones if needed, helping you drive the areas of right association, acts, and creating right energy for your preparation, as well as eliminate areas where you can save time and be more productive in your work schedule.
24 by 7 chatbot access program is designed to help you sort some emergency access and avails you the 24 by 7 support system with qualified counselors.
The chat box is open to our learners at all times. You can clear your doubts and queries by simply dropping a question here, and we will try our best to answer them as soon as possible and to the best of our ability.
Benefits of the 24 by 7 chatbot access for working professionals are: it makes your life easier, it makes you stress-free, it helps you to avail expert advice which will help you in life to go further. Benefits of 24 by 7 chatbot access program for university students are: it helps you minimize the exam stress, it helps in finding out the life goals. Benefits of the 24 by 7 chatbot access program for school students are: it helps to reduce stress during exams, and it helps to access counseling sessions and different webinars at Mentor Mitr.
Environment Questionnaire, a set of questions designed with the aim to know the basis of an individual and works as a base for further action.
This is the questionnaire section. Here, you will be required to provide a few basic information about yourself, such as your current educational status, your future goals, etc. This is just to draw a precursory sketch before you begin your journey with us and our mentors.
The benefits of the environment questionnaire for working executives is knowing your version and work towards making it better. Gap analysis is done to find right solutions, understanding and identifying your needs from the base and working towards it, as well as knowing and identifying your goals and what needs to be done next. The benefits of the environment questionnaire for university students is knowing their version and making it better, bringing you from the zone of concern to the zone of comfort, assist you advocately using your environment and support system, as well as recognizing the needs from the very beginning and working on the same. The benefits of environment questionnaire for school students is knowing their version and making it better with an external expert view, help them leverage their environment and support system to drive them correctly, help them bridge a gap. All the constituents of our program, we also cater to the mental health of an individual, which ultimately helps an individual in case of working executives to affirm their right goals, identify their negative emotions, and create positive affirmations. Flexible counseling help reinforce behavior needed to improve the quality of life. A buddy and mentor who becomes part of your growth journey. In case of university students, it helps them deal with relationships better and put the right perspective, identifies one's negative emotions and worries and creates positive affirmations. Flexible counseling help reinforce behavior needed to improve their quality of life. For school students, it helps them deal with relationship issues better and put the right perspective to what's needed. Flexible counseling help reinforce behavior needed to improve their quality of life. A buddy, mentor who becomes a part of their growth journey and understands them when and how it's needed. So along with all our other constituents, mental health is also considered essential and the issues are catered to.
This script from a live session that we have every Friday on Instagram. Various IGTV videos from our live sessions are available where our experts from various fields have shared their insights with us. Do check out our IGTV on Instagram for wonderful and insightful discussions on various topics ranging from relationship to mental health to leadership and career building.
While progressing in life, at times we feel stuck due to the lack of knowledge of how to manage our time well. Deciding how to prioritize the different facets of daily self-management gets hectic, whether it's for school students, university students, or working people. The lack of motivation, a great amount of workload, and the expectations at the academic front in college or at one's workplace is draining for an individual. Under such circumstances, a helping hand can instruct and support us in setting the right direction for our goals. At Mitr, we engage with individuals wherever they are in their journey of career development and help them learn life skills to manage complex situations while enhancing their potential and performance to optimum. Our involvement helps individuals to set the right goals and create options by following an objective process, thereby enabling them to define and manage their priorities. We help them generate self-awareness and teach them how to prioritize their time effectively. We also enhance their emotional quotient with techniques like mind mapping and dealing with success and failure to reinforce their goals and processes, while also grooming them with soft skills that are necessary for the competitive selection process, thus making them confident and prepared for success.
So, ma'am, my first question is, according to you, what exactly is overthinking, and the concept of overthinking, does it vary from person to person?
Yeah. See, overthinking is going beyond thinking. If a person is thinking repeatedly any past painful experience, any bad memories, and any traumatic incidents, anything which is disturbing them, or because if they are thinking about good memories, that is not overthinking. Overthinking goes with the negative aspect of it. So whenever a person is thinking more about any painful experience, any past traumatic experience, anything which has disturbed them. For example, a person reached to the office and the boss immediately said, "Why you are 5 minutes late?" So the person may react in two ways. The person will take it casually. It's okay if boss has said something and the thing is over. There can be another person who will say, "Why he has said to me? Whereas I am coming every day on time." And then after leaving in the afternoon also he is thinking about it. Why he said to me? Why he said to me only me? Am I the only person in the office? So he's now what he has started doing, he is dwelling on that one thing. He is trying to find out cause and effect relationship, and he is thinking about it. In the evening also he is thinking that tomorrow I will not come on time, or tomorrow I'll be 10 minutes late. Let's see how he'll react. In the evening also he is thinking. When he is going back to his home, then also he is thinking that I always try to manage on time, I always work on time. Then also boss is not happy and he said to me this thing. Like, he has created a saga of this. Whole day. He has thought of it. Now before sleeping also, he is thinking that tomorrow what will happen. Will he going to react in the same way, or will he be positive? Or he may also think that, it is the general phenomena that if the boss is lady, she might have fight with her husband, or if the boss is man, he might have fight with his wife.
Right.
So in the night also, and then just before sleep also, he is thinking that why this happened to me, why only me. When he got up in the morning, then also he is thinking about the yesterday's thought. So what has happened here? This is overthinking. So when we think too much about any particular
Is there any such thing as a failed relationship?
Yeah, great question. I truly think no. I really think that relationships are a mirror of ourselves, and we basically see ourselves in relationships, right? So every relationship, from my experience working with clients as a relationship coach, has shown me that any type of relationship, no matter what the outcome, helps us to grow, become stronger, and also become closer to what we really want, right? Because oftentimes we don't really know. Like, it takes so many years and years to really know, and so many failures, so many challenges. So to me, there's really no failed relationship. I really believe that any relationship will make us stronger, will make us find our true self.
That was beautifully answered by you, Maike. So, yeah. So, very truly said, there's nothing such
to be empathetic in a professional environment while maintaining one's own boundaries?
Yeah, this is very crucial, and it's very difficult to kind of abide by or practice, right? So all the words that is going to come out of my me today is going to look all wow, but when you put it to practice, it's going to be taking a toll on you. So don't worry, I'll try to make it as simplified as possible. So two things. First of all, when we look at empathy, what is empathy? You're just going to put yourself in the other person's shoes, try to understand their emotions, truly put yourself in their position and see what it is like to be in that position. And when you do that, naturally, there are certain things that you would understand about their perspective, or whether certain solutions would be coming to your mind and things like that. So when you generally are an empathetic person, as nature or your personality, you have it in you, you tend to cross your own boundaries. And at times it is difficult for you to, make sure that you're not doing things at your own cost. कि आप help करते जा रहे हो and you don't know where to put a line or draw a line when you're in a professional setting, especially. So these are two things that you can keep in mind. First of all, is really identify what your needs are. On a regular basis, try to do that. So the certain questions that possibly you ask yourself is, what is it that rejuvenates you? What is it that you need to feel your best, right? At your workspace or at your own home as well. So empathy anywhere, at your workspace or at your home also. These things are these questions are something that you can keep in mind, and you can keep asking them to yourself. The other thing is, when do you feel your best? Around whom do you feel your best, right? And when do you feel your worst? Around whom or what circumstances you feel discomforted? So having a check on these things, and these needs can keep changing. As and when you are in your life, you're taking your journey, things keep changing. So you need to be aware of these. And when you get the answers to these questions. That's when you have rich content to work on in terms of your boundaries. So you know who is not giving you comfort. You know who is giving you comfort. You know what is making you feel your best. So continuing that and something that is not, let's try to restrict those kind of behaviors or try to restrict your energy that is going towards those things or people or situations.
Your thoughts on anxiety being seen in so many people regarding the uncertainty of future, given how things are these days?
So mainly, I think I'll start with the first lockdown that happened. And when it happened, I think it was somewhere a lot of us were surprised, shocked, but at the same time, we were navigating it with a lot of fun, like learning कि अच्छा office नहीं जाना पड़ेगा because pajamas में we can take our meetings and हम coffee बनाएंगे and we'll do all these crazy things and we'll binge watch Money
Break
Heist.
from our daily hectic day.
Yeah. And I think everybody just became like a unit, you know. Everybody started posting their Ludo success and everything. So it was a fun time because people were just, full of hope at that time. It was something new. And they were thinking, कि हाँ, it'll last for a little while, then it'll go away. But what happened with the second wave was that none of us saw it coming, right? We were succeeding in terms of, things were getting better, and we all got cocky with that success that we were making. And overnight, that shift was there. And second wave in itself, like it goes unsaid, it was so difficult for so many people and our country itself. I think we were, even if we were somewhere prepared for it, knowing that it could happen again, we never saw the intensity of it coming. Second wave, right? So उसके बाद I think लोगों को ज़्यादा frustrated feel हुआ. Imagine having no control over your own life. Right? That was what we were dealing with from the last 1.5 years till today. So not having that control was very difficult, very intense. It was very hard to absorb for a lot of people, and that led to feeling, like this. And I remember I was talking to somebody last week only, and we were talking about uncertainty, and I asked him like, "How do you feel?" And he said this one thing that really was relatable, and he said कि अब तो कुछ अच्छा प्लान करने में भी डर लगता है because I don't know if it will come true or not. Right? I don't want to plan anything positive because if there is like a slight chance कि वो ठीक नहीं होगा या फिर वो पूरा नहीं होगा, then I don't want to go through that again. Right? So I said, yeah, I think that's completely relatable because a lot of people are not planning things because of the fear of the uncertainty, because it is always lurking around, and that is leading to other issues.
We welcome one and all present here. Today, our live webinar starts. It's on effective communication skills for personal and professional growth. To begin with the quote, the art of communication is the language of leadership. Sunday, January 23rd, 7 p.m. IST. Pre-webinar, you'll get an e-certificate as well. Moving ahead, I would like to repeat the steps to avail the e-certificate. The steps are as follows. Attend the complete webinar. When you see thank you on the screen, there will appear a link to Google attendance form in the chat box. Click to mark your attendance and get the feedback questionnaire emailed. Fill the questionnaire you get on mail for your details. Follow our page. Whether you did or not is also in the questionnaire. Please follow and then only reply in affirmative, or else we wouldn't be able to generate a certificate for you. If all above stated steps are followed, automatically an e-certificate will be issued online to you. Mentor Mitr is a mentoring organization where we welcome individuals on wherever they are in their career journey and help them achieve their goals. And we bridge the gap between where they are and where they aspire to be. Presenting our first speaker for the day, Ms. Anuradha. Can we have the screen sharing stopped? Anuradha ma'am is a startup mentor, performance coach, author, business leader with 18 years of rich and extensive experience, founder of Be Better HR Solutions, author of the book Life Lessons by Coach Anuradha, startup business consultant, certified life coach, international keynote speaker, Mentor Startup Punjab, Mentor Startup Accelerator, Chamber of Commerce, SAC, India, speaker at National Institute of Technical Teachers Training and Research, Ministry of HRD, Government of India, President, Life Skill Council, Punjab, WICCI, Women's India's Chamber at Commerce and Industry. We welcome you, Anuradha ma'am.
Thank you so much. Just give me a moment. Very good evening to one and all. I can start.
Anuradha ma'am, you're not audible.
Okay. And volume is
Peruz, can you start first since Anuradha ma'am is having a network glitch?
Please introduce me.
Yeah. Presenting our first speaker, really sorry for the miscommunication. Mr. Peruz, for our webinar, Mr. Peruz is a native Uzbekistan who did his Bachelor's of Arts in English Philology from Samarkand State Institute of Foreign Languages. He further continued his studies by winning a state-funded scholarship for pursuing a 2 year master course at University of Pune, India. He has been a winner of multiple awards, both domestically and internationally. One of his most remarkable achievements was in China when he was awarded the Best Dassault Teacher of the Year 2014. Mr. Peruz is a philanthropist by nature, so he has committed himself to volunteering, public engagement, both at home and abroad, physically as well as remotely. He has become an international ESL/EFL instructor due to his extensive teaching abroad and his international teaching qualification since 2020. He has firmly established his online presence across various international platforms as a successful public speaker. His motto in life is always move forward no matter what. Thank you, sir. You can begin.
Can you please proceed to my presentation?
Yes, sir. That's your presentation.
The first page.
Okay. Is that your first page?
Can I share from my end?
Oh, yes, so you can definitely go ahead.
1 second. All right. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. That was a nice introduction of mine. Thank you to the moderator.
Warm greetings to the esteemed viewers of Mitr, the international platform to which I'm lucky enough to have been called already for the third time. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Peruz, the founder of ETA Uzbekistan, as well as an international public speaker. And I'm delighted to share my global experience with you on the following topic: effective communication skills for professional and personal growth. And before I move on, before I proceed further, I'd like to make a pause and turn to you with a question. I'm sure you're seeing on my screen lots of colorful dots that are scattered across the screen. And my question is the following: in what ways those colorful dots are connected with my today's topic? So please kindly put your guesses in the chat box and I'll try to check out your responses. So how are those colorful dots connected with my today's topic? Okay, the answers keep coming in a bit late. Right. Okay, lots of greetings. Hello, Bunchy. Okay, so how are those colorful dots connected with my today's topic? Can you please put your guesses in the chat box? Okay, any guesses? So lots of greetings keep coming in. I hope I'm audible. All right. So lots of greetings. Numbers of tips for effective communication, says Donna Honsaideva. Okay, right, we got the first answer. Anything else? Any more guesses? Connections, connecting the dots. Okay, how are those connecting dots connected with my topic? Right, everything is connected. Emotions, perfect. Okay, you can keep putting in your responses in chat box. Diversity, that's nice. Okay, Brady. Right, ladies and gentlemen, these colorful dots actually stand for different settings and contexts in which we communicate on a daily basis. It can be official, semi-official, uninformal, formal, so you just name it. Let's keep going. Over to the next slide. All right, now here is how the outline looks. First, I'll kick off with the build-up to the topic. I'll try to warm you up to today's topic, and further on, I'll continue with sharing some tips on communication at workplace. I believe there are lots of people in the house, about 200. Wow, that's amazing. So I'm sure there are a lot of people who are employed at different companies across the board. So I hope they'll find my tips quite useful. And further on, I'll continue with some tips on how to communicate effectively at college, which is also essential. And later on, we'll look into miscommunication and why and how people have a hard time communicating with one another and how can it be solved. And then we'll continue with communication via social media. As you know, we're living in the 21st century. This is popularly dubbed as digital era, in which a larger part of the world is connected digitally. And every day we use different types of social media to connect with one another. So I'll be sharing some tips on how to properly and effectively use social media for a better communication. And ladies and gentlemen, I'll wrap up my brief presentation with some tips on effective communication in world diplomacy and its role and how it has a powerful impact on the future and destiny of our planet. So let's keep going on. I'll kick off my presentation with a quote from one of the most prominent motivational speakers of our times, Tony Robbins. He said, to effectively communicate, we must realize that we're all different in the way we perceive the world and use this understanding as a guide to our communication with others. The bottom line of his message is that every one of us is unique with our individuality, idiosyncrasy, and peculiarity. When we have a large gap and difference of all the people residing on this earth, about 8 billion people with 8 billion characters and ways of communication, we have to stay alert not to, run into some trouble due to miscommunication. And that's the message of Tony Robbins. Let's keep going. All right, I'll start throwing different tips of mine for better communication, either on a personal or professional level. My first tip, ladies and gentlemen, is enjoy the experience. And what do I mean by that? Imagine you are going to your favorite cafe just to have a cup of your favorite coffee and sitting comfortably, leisurely on a couch and sipping your favorite coffee. How about that experience? Is that lovely, enjoyable? Indeed, it is. So that's an experience. That's a process, which is quite similar to communication. Communication has to be enjoyable. It has to be a lovely experience. If it's less enjoyable or unenjoyable, then you might be talking to the wrong person, or you might be using the wrong manner of communication. In either way, communication may falter and fail. So make sure you are going to enjoy your communication experience, no matter who you're going to talk to. All right, now I'd like to, pop another interactive question. Where are you from, and where are you watching this webinar from? Because, I have a reason to ask you this question. Now I'll turn to the chat box and would love to know about your location. Ladies and gentlemen, where are you watching this webinar from? Please kindly put it in the chat box. So if you can hear me well, if I'm audible enough, please put it in the chat box. Where are you watching this webinar from? The answers keep coming a bit late, but I'll be patient. Okay. So people still keep greeting each other. Philippines, Elisa say Philippines. Philippines, okay, lots of Filipino. Georgia, wow, nice. We have someone from Europe. Okay, Philippines, lots of Philippines. Great. Okay, Philippines. From Samarkand, right. Nepal, great. Uzbekistan, Samarkand. Okay, Samarkand, awesome. Philippines, Uzbekistan, Philippines, India, okay. As you can see, we have quite a diverse batch of people in the house, being part of this webinar. Wow, the number of people watching the real-time webinar hit over 200. I've never seen that number. Wow, that's great, awesome. Thank you very much for your enthusiasm and the support you're showing for this webinar. Great, awesome. So in Bangladesh, okay, Samarkand, India, great. Ladies and gentlemen, this diverse background shows us that we all come from different parts of the globe. The further the distance is, the greater the gap would be. So we have, there's a chance that we may run into sort of a miscommunication because we have a different cultural background. We have a different psychology, mentality, and we need to really carefully consider all those differences while we're engaging in communication. Okay, we're still in the build up to the topic. I'll quickly run you through the types of communication: verbal, nonverbal, written, and visual. I'm sure you are familiar with all three. I'll just comment on the last one, visual communication. You might wonder, what is visual communication? Visual communication is pretty much what I'm doing now. I'm just, trying to get my message across through some illustrations, through my PPT. Some of the, the pictures, the graphics that you see on my PPT can speak for itself, can communicate some other messages that I may not touch upon. That's what the visual communication is all about. And there's another breakdown of types of communication based on the channels versus the style and purpose. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll just pause here for a while and turn to you again with an interactive question. Could you please mention the type of communication which you're not so good at? Is that the nonverbal, verbal, oral, written, formal, informal, face-to-face, or distance due to pandemic? So please, could you put it in the chat box? Which type of communication you are not so good at? Let me check out your responses. I'm quite interested in it. So we still have answers keep coming in about the location, I'm very glad to see so many people from all parts of the globe and from my hometown, Samarkand. Warm greetings to all those people watching from Samarkand. Great, awesome. Okay, so we have the answers. Verbal says Amy, okay? Verbal, oral, written, formal, verbal. All right, verbal, distance. Someone says face-to-face, written, oral, verbal, verbal, oral. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much for your active participation. I need to carry on, move on to the next slide. Ladies and gentlemen, we're living in the year of 2022, and we're still talking about communication. But interestingly, about 2,000 years ago, people were talking about communication, but in a slightly different way. Now, I'm taking you mentally, back in time, 2,500 years ago, to the ancient Athens, where people started pondering over the mastery in communication skills, and they developed it to an extent that they had the oratory, the concept of oratory dating all the way back to ancient Athens. And I'm sure people, the generations to come, will be talking about communication even 2,000 years later, because this is the heart and soul of all the matters that we go through on a daily life. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure there are lots of educators, because I'm familiar with lots of people commenting in the chat box, because most of them come from my country. And there are a lot of educators in the house, and they're familiar with something called Bloom's taxonomy. What is Bloom's taxonomy? This is used to classify the learning objectives of students. Students might be at different levels, all the way from remember to create, or somewhere in between. And the fun part about the Bloom's taxonomy is it is relatable. It can be related to different contexts, and it can be adjusted. And I wanted to relate it to our today's context, which is communication. And I found amazing discoveries that most of the times people have miscommunication, or they falter in engaging in a successful communication just because we have folks on different, let's say, the levels, different levels, totally different levels. So they are at a remember level where they can just recall the facts and basic concepts, or even if they're good enough to explain the concepts, then they can understand and talk. Am I audible? Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So further on, it's apply, analyze, evaluate, and if they're good enough, they can create an original work. In this case, they can create their piece of original statement. They can develop, formulate the ideas. They can provide some insightful speech. And it takes lots of work and skill and practice and hard work. So we're talking about a super effective communicator who is at the top of Bloom's taxonomy. And, unfortunately, we have people in between these levels. So, I'll just leave you with a question. You can keep commenting in the chat box. At which level of Bloom's taxonomy is your communication skill stand? So that's a question for you to ponder. I'll just move on to the next slide. In this slide, I'll tackle communication at a workplace. And what does it mean? Communication at a workplace, I've carefully chosen this picture because in this picture, you can see some office people holding jigsaw puzzle pieces. And what does it mean? It simply means that communication at a workplace should be just like a jigsaw piece puzzle to, complement one another. It has to be complementing and supportive rather than incompatible and contrasting. Because on a team, in a workplace, we have a group of people who are moving forward towards a common shared goal. So the communication has to take place in a more like a jigsaw puzzle pieces to assemble and form a full picture, which is a goal, metaphorically speaking, a goal of the company. In this picture, you can see a batch of students engaging in some kind of group work at a college. All of us went through different kind of educational establishments, and we were put to different group works and team works. And through those groupings and engagements, we learn how to improve our communication skills, because every time the teacher would put us into different group where we would face a different partner with a different tone, pitch, voice, you just name it. So every time that difference would offer a fresh impetus to our communication skills and would just keep honing it further. Ladies and gentlemen, now let's talk quickly about why and how miscommunication takes place. By definition, for the communication to take place, there has to be two parties, a speaker and a listener, a sender and a receiver. And for those two, they have to engage, and involve actively. And that's what a communication means. It cannot be a monologue. It cannot be one-sided. So for a communication to successfully occur or take place, two people or two sides have to actively involve in the entire process. But why does the miscommunication take place? It's because sometimes one of the sides of the communicators may not have a clear intention, purpose, goal of communicating. They might, just leisurely, casually get involved in the conversation. When you just casually get involved in the conversation, you never know where it may lead and end up. Sometimes some idle talks or some casual conversation may end up with an argument. Why not? It happens a lot and very frequently, just because the communication didn't have any purpose from the onset. So make sure, in order to avoid all sorts of miscommunication, you have to have a purpose, a clear purpose of your communication. Now, I'll turn to you with a question once again. When was the last time you got annoyed by having a communication with someone? Could you please put it in the chat box? Now, I'm keeping my eyes on the chat box. When was the last time you got annoyed or pissed off or disappointed, by having a conversation with someone? When was the last time? You can just say like last week, but yesterday, today, So just put it anything in the chat box and I will reflect. Okay, so any responses? All right, we have answers keep coming in for the previous questions. Okay, so when was the last time you had a miscommunication, you had an awful communication experience? Last 3 days ago. Okay, today. Okay, right, today, just now. Wow. 2 days ago, yesterday, last week, last night, some days ago. Okay, thank you. The answers keep coming in. Okay, and when was the last time you had a hard time communicating with someone across a social media, let's say on Facebook or WhatsApp or Instagram or on YouTube? When was the last time you had an argument with someone verbally on social media? Yeah, a few minutes ago, last week. All right, last night. Yeah, these things keep happening in our lives very often. Why? Just because we may not be aware or fully aware of how to use the social media or social platforms effectively for a successful communication. I'm sure you're familiar with all those communication tools, social media, and which ones are you glad to use very often? For me, I use Facebook very often. I check out some messages from time to time on WhatsApp, and I frequently use my Yahoo mailbox because I have to keep sending lots of emails. Ladies and gentlemen, another aspect of miscommunication is, every speaker has a life experience. So they have tons of things to talk about. But unfortunately, when it comes to communicating with someone, we're not aware of how to carefully select the theme, the topic of interest. For instance, let me put it very simply. I have my nephew who is just nuts about football, and so am I. So when he just drops by my place, We sit down, and talk about football for hours, and we enjoy that communication. Why? Because that is something in common between us, and I have some other people who I love talking about education or some other academic topics. So you need to really choose the person, and then you need to, have something in common with that person. And only then there are the chances that communication may go well and extremely successful. All right, now I'll ask you another interactive question. I want you to tell me, which mode of communication do you prefer? Is that the one through a smartphone or in person? Let me check it out. So I can see the answers to the previous question. Lots of people keep mentioning Facebook, right? Facebook, Telegram. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, which one do you prefer? Is that the communication through a smartphone or in person? Which is your favorite way of communication? Facebook, is that in person or through smartphone? In person, okay. Ray Mart says in person, in person, in person. Okay, some people say smartphone, right? In person, phone, in person, in person. Okay, we have lots of in person. That's nice. That's nice. You know why? Because people still miss face-to-face, authentic communication where there is a personal touch involved, So because of the pandemic, most of the people got locked up and holed up indoors. So we had a less chance to move around. And because of that, people now badly miss in-person communication. That's nice. Great. Okay, now let's move on to the concluding part of my brief presentation. I'd like to quickly touch upon effective communication and its role in world diplomacy. Ladies and gentlemen, every day, almost every day, across the TV channels or news outlets, we keep seeing lots of global events, meetings, and conventions take place, and most of the times they adopt certain kind of resolutions. Why am I showing you this picture? Because this is the biggest and most effective setting for the communication to take place. If communication takes place at a workplace or on a personal level, maybe it may not have a far-reaching effect to the society, to the greater society, or to the world at large. But when we see people convening globally and trying to adopt some certain kind of resolution to discuss, the global problems, that kind of communication will certainly affect the lives of millions of people and the fate of the planet. So this is when we have to be super careful about effective communication. I'd like to provide a very illustrative example from my personal life. A couple of years ago, I was traveling to the city called Shanghai in China. It's a financial center of China. And there is the one and only expo museum in the world in Shanghai. When you come out of the museum, you can see this beautiful scenery where there are country flags risen to with the flagpoles that can, that go sky high. This is quite a beautiful sight. Something really caught my attention, that all of those flags are leisurely and comfortably, waving next to each other. But, wait, make no mistake. Why not? Those countries cannot, sit or stand next to each other, whereas their flags are put next to each other. It's just because those countries are not having effective communication. And for having effective communication, we need a world diplomacy. And the heart and soul of world diplomacy is effective communication. This is another nice picture. This is European continent. What I like best about European continent is that they have something called European Union that integrates all the economies into a single block. And what works best about that mechanism is that these all countries have a very effective communication within the countries. And that's how they can easily integrate economically, politically, and otherwise speaking. So this is how communication can be vital and essential. I'll move on to a quote by Aristotle. Now we're talking about communication and how essential it is. But 2000 years ago, Aristotle said all communication must lead to a change, a positive change. If it doesn't lead to any kind of positive change, make sure that that is just a wasteful communication. Zig Ziglar put it in a different way. He said, in many ways, effective communication begins with mutual respect. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to make a pause here and reiterate the fact. If you want to engage with someone in a successful, fruitful, productive, enjoyable communication, make sure you respect that person. Mutual respect is essential. Most of the times, miscommunication occur because we take it for granted. We take it for granted the social status of that person. Maybe that person is our senior. Maybe that person is our professor. Maybe that person is our teacher, or maybe someone who holds a higher position in a society. We cannot, address a person saying, hey, dude. I have a friend of mine who's working at the university. Recently, he told me his story of his friend who has been living, who settled down in US, and they had a recent communication via Facebook. And his friend was addressing a professor as a dude, So my friend got a bit surprised and shocked because, he's a professor at the university. He's such a reputable and respectable person. It's not appropriate to address a professor saying, hey, dude, So most of the times we disregard lots of essential factors that lead to miscommunication. I hope that makes it clear. I'd like to wrap up my brief presentation with the last quote. It says, communication is one of the most important skills you require for a successful life. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to turn to you one more time. Is there anyone who does not want to be a successful person in life? Nobody. If you want to be a successful person, if you want to succeed in whatever you do, in whatever community you are living, and whatever you're engaged with, make sure that it all starts with an effective communication. Thank you very much. And I'll be happy to take your questions later on after the second speaker's presentation during the Q&A session. Thank you for your attention. And if you love the presentation, please show your feeling in the chat box. I'll now look at the chat box. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. We would love to have you back in the question and answer section. Moving ahead, I would like to highlight a few details. Kindly post your question and answer on YouTube, and we will be happy to answer them at the end. Secondly, please provide your contact and email ID so that we can forward you all the updates regarding our webinar and programs. And to book a free slot and consultation for any of our programs, you can all reach out us at our email address, that is events@mentormitr.com. Talking about Mentor Mitra's courses, there are programs for working professional with a duration of 1 month as well as 3 months. Same goes for school student, which has 3 different durations for a year, for 3 months, or for just a month. Going ahead with university students, we have program for 3 months and a month. Program for university students entail features like time tracker, tracks and option template, more features like free access to webinars, 24/7 chatbot access, flexible counseling session, and AI-based assessment. Going ahead with programs for school students, which entail free access to webinars, continuous support, time tracker, tracks and option template, competitive ability, as well as environment mapping. Going ahead and talking more about the app, you can scan to download our app. There's a link, and the app is available on Play Store just by typing Mentor Mitra on Play Store. Presenting your app, as I said, it is available on Play Store. For now, you can download the app only on Android. The download is free of cost, but the programs are paid. App is available worldwide in countries like India, Philippines, Bangladesh, Italy, Malaysia, and much more. We are planning to launch it in other countries soon. Kindly download our app and get help in your career. Presenting our second speaker for the day, Anuradha ma'am, a startup mentor, performance coach, author, business leader with 18 years of rich and extensive experience, founder of Be Better HR Solutions, life lessons coached by Anuradha, author of the book, startup business consultant, certified life coach, international keynote speaker, mentor startup Punjab, speaker at National Institute of Technical Teachers Training and Research, Ministry of HRD, Government of India, WICCI, and much more. We welcome you, Anuradha ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Krisha, and wonderful Sunday evening to all the participants here. Hello, how are you doing? India, Malaysia, Philippines, and I see people from Uzbekistan. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the session on public speaking, on effective communication skills for your growth, your personal as well as your professional growth. So why do we always talk about effective communication? Why is it not just communication? Do you all understand communication is one means where we can actually convey our messages, how we feel about each other, what are our emotions? Anything and everything can only be expressed through communication. Krisha, would you be putting the presentation here?
Yes.
All right. Okay. So while we are talking about professional communication, it is very, very important that we understand why this communication is important in organizations, how and why. So why? Very clear. If the organizations are not typically communicating 75% of the time, it's either the boardroom meetings or peer-to-peer discussions, or the team managers are talking to their team members, 70%, 75% of it is actually communication. So imagine the kind of time they are putting in communicating the ideas, the proposals, the POCs, everything is on communication. So the most important thing right here is, are we communicating effectively? Is the idea, the concept being conveyed effectively, or it is not articulated well? So very, very important for everyone to work on this communication. So if the communication is thorough, if it is accurate, if it is timely, the organizations will be vibrant, effective. So people really need to work on their communication skills for this communication of the organizations. And secondly, about the interpersonal situations, because if there are people who are not, the team members are not together, if they are not communicating to each other, what happens is the team will be going in different directions. So very, very important that the organizations are communicating, the employees are communicating with each other professionally and convenient to understand each other. Language plays a very important role here. Krisha, can you put my presentation? This is something else being run here. All right, no problem. So moving ahead.
Would you like to present it yourself?
I can do that, yeah.
Yeah, okay then.
Yeah, 1 second. Yes, everyone, can you see the presentation now?
Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful. All right. So when we are communicating, it is very important that we understand the perspective it is being spoken in. What happens is, what is communication? Communication is actually what the other person is understanding, not what I am speaking. So it is a complete, if you see it in the complete horizon, it is about the perspective, what I am speaking and what you are understanding. So most problems won't exist if people understand what is the difference between an argument and a discussion. So what the argument is finding who is right, who is wrong. mostly in discussions, in meetings, we are always fixing the blame. Who is to be blamed here? Rather than finding out what is the problem and how we can actually improve the problem. So the tone matters, the language matters. Most important, when you are communicating, it's not just the words, it's the tone, the modulation, the body language. Are you offending somebody with the body language? It is like simple when you are in a discussion. Mostly now it is an agile system, so people don't use a typically boardroom where people have their the conference rooms and the table and the chair. It is an agile system, so we have stand-up meetings now, right? The scrum meetings. What happens in the scrum meetings? Usually you will see the senior people, or even in that case, if we don't go by the hierarchy, people breach the comfort zone. Who all agree with me? Even I'm not gender biased at all. So I remember one of my colleagues, she used to breach the comfort zone and stand very close when she's talking, even to the point the guys would get a little offended, you know. So it's not gender based. So very important that we don't breach the comfort zone. Very important when we are talking to somebody, the body language, you're looking here. When you're talking to somebody, you don't make the person uncomfortable. So yeah, very good evening, everyone. So please, you can keep asking your questions. I'll be more than happy to answer right here. So friends, very important, your non-verbal gestures, your body language, because if you see in a conference, if you see in a team, the most important thing is non-verbal, because only 7% of your verbal communication is being understood. Yes, sure, Angelica, I will send it to you. You can actually message me on my Instagram at anusi444, and I will send you my presentation on your email ID. You can share your email here. So friends, while we are discussing about the major verbal communication skills, what are the major verbal communication skills? You are listening, most important. See, silence is really not being considered that important, but silently listening to somebody is the kindest thing you can do to a person you are communicating with. Second, you're speaking. Third, reading. And fourth, writing. All right. Yes, Nafisa, I'm sharing my Instagram with you here. You can actually send me the questions and I can revert to you there. And after the session, we will have a Q&A. So you can then ask me the questions, please. Nafisa, I've shared the details here. And Angelica, you can see my Insta and I will give you my email ID there. All right. So as I said, listening is very important. As I always say that talking words, these are overrated. Your body language, your tone, and what you really want to convey can be conveyed with the least of words. That's called articulation, rather than beating around the bush all the time. All right, so listening, speaking. In speaking, you can talk about the modulation, reading, and writing. So if you see together, all these four actually form the communication, part of communication. And while you're communicating, it's not very important to show off your own probably if you have a very good English, we talk about Shashi Tharoor. He's a politician, a bureaucrat in India. So he used a very flourish language, and he has a very good hold on English vocabulary. So what happens when he's talking? Everybody is mesmerized, but close to nobody understands what he's talking about. So that's a joke. Jokes apart, it's very important. When we are talking, we should be understood rather than being appreciated. So if you are a senior, I understand being senior, we are always in a burden to impress people rather than making our point across. So very important, we step down from that and we talk about simple language where we can communicate, we can understand each other and make others understand our point of view. So we talk about interpersonal skills. when I used to give these sessions, thank you, Peruz. So when I used to give these sessions, I used to say interpersonal skills. If you break it down, it is into the person and kill. Kill, not literally kill, but make an impression, be heard. You should be understood rather than just being, being praised for your language or your content. You should be actually understood and the people should buy your ideas. All right, I'm there on YouTube. I can see communication is very effectively connecting different cultures. Absolutely wonderful point, Valenza. So yes, connecting different cultures and different people around the globe. So when you are in a corporate, you are actually working globally. The world is flat and you have clients from all over the world. Now you need to be sensitive to all the cultures, right? Now, let's say we are talking to somebody and I'll give you an example. Before that, let me complete this. So if you're talking to somebody, hand gestures. So here in India, hand gestures, not a problem. Particularly, I am from Punjab region, so people really like using their hands. And if you go to other countries, there are people who take an offense when you are moving your hands a lot. So you really need to understand the culture before you are talking to them, before you make a pitch, because you're making a sales pitch, the other person is getting disturbed with your hand gestures. So very important, understand. Okay, going ahead. So what are the different channels you can communicate with? Like our speaker before me, Mr. Peruz, he talked about the channel, the personal channel and the gadgets we use, right? The messengers we use. And I was observing the comments, lots and lots of people were very comfortable with gadgets, with messengers, different Facebook. I remember when I joined my first job and I saw two people. I was not very clear about the protocols. So two people sitting across each other and talking, chatting on Messenger. I was surprised. Why is it so? Why do you have to communicate on messengers when you're sitting right across each other? So it is responsibility of a human resource, of an HR person to actually make those protocols. So I was told that the floor need to be sanitized. People should not be talking to each other. That's why they use messengers. And imagine the gist of the entire discussion, it fizzles out when we are using these messengers. So who all agrees to me that it is important for us to actually communicate person to person, face to face? Yes, Nina, Facebook, I know. Yes, sure. It can be sent through email and you can have it from the moderator. Krisha will send it to you. Yeah. All right. So moving ahead, what are the mediums? What are the channels? One, face-to-face. You are discussing with each other. Two, written communication, emails. A lot of times business communication happens on emails. And it is very important to understand the protocols to be followed in an email. An email of about 500 words. Can you actually imagine the agony of reading 500 words email? We really need to put the subject line so crisp so that people can understand what do you want to communicate. If it is a sales proposal, the subject should have that. And the content should also not be very elaborative. Rather than that, you can actually ask for a face-to-face time. You can have a Skype meeting. You can have FaceTime. But very important, you shouldn't be writing elaborative emails. And most important, call to action. When you're writing an email, the last line should be about the next action. When can we meet? Or when can we have a telephonic conference? Anything. So the last line should be call to action. Non-verbal, as I've already told you, different cultures, different expectations. Hello, Rosanna. So very important that we follow that. Now the visuals. What happens when we are presenting to a team? Usually we will put an entire content, let's say the entire slide will be full of words. Very, very wrong approach. It's very important to have least of words in your presentation, and rather it should be pictures. As we say, pictures speak louder than words. Okay, Umar Farouk, you are saying, is it necessary to learn grammar to become able to speak English? I saw many people saying no, it is not. See, if you have seen my previous slides, I was talking about communication is verbal plus non-verbal. And the research have shown that only 7% of it is your words. So tell me, where does grammar play a role in that? No, grammar, your vocabulary is not that important. Rather, what you are talking about, how you are communicating, your tone is most important, right? All right. So the audio and visual. So did you see the goof up that happened when I started my session? So I was supposed to go as the first speaker, and thanks to Mr. Peruz, who actually saved the day for me, I could not communicate. Not because I was at loss of words, because the internet went off, the current went off, and that's why there was a flip and I was not audible. So communication is the audio and the visual as well, electronic as well. Silence. As I said, words are overrated. Your silence is so important. When you are in a communication, when you need to take a pause when you are talking to people, right? Let's say if you are making a public speech, you are moving around, your hand gestures, everything, and you are actually talking to people. What happens? When you're talking to people, you have to make a pertinent, important point. You stop, you take a pause, you are silent, and then you go. Quickly, you give the statement. So very important, silence, pause. And of course, as we say, a combination of all these. The choice of the medium would be influenced by factors like availability, cost, urgency, reliability, everything, right? All right. Now, most important, and I really stick to these 10 characteristics. And if you are all with me, tell me what are the important characteristics for you here. First, whatever you are talking about, the content should not be ambiguous. Very, very important. You have to be clear with what you want to convey. Your accent doesn't matter. The world is flat. Everyone is listening to you. So the pronunciation, the grammar, it is not as important as the clarity of your content, your voice. Do you all agree with me here? Thank you so much, Angelica. All right. The second is concise, direct, precise. You should articulate. You should not be beating around the bush. You should save on time and make the right statements that your audience want to hear. Third, correct. Of course, you have to be specific. If you are sharing numbers like I shared 7% verbal, I should do my thorough study. Then only I can be sure about it and I'm not conveying the wrong points. Fourth is complete. Is your content complete? Is it self-contained? Very important. And of course, you need to be polite. You cannot offend your audience. You cannot offend your team members. You have to be cordial, because it is like interpersonal relationships. When you are talking to people, you are actually making interpersonal relationships there. So very, very important, of course. All right. Now, considerate. Very important that you are connected. You are curating the right data. You are target oriented and you have the you attitude. It's not that you are only about yourself, self-contained. No, we need to connect with the audience. See, there are pros and cons to both. Now, because of COVID, we cannot be present to talk to people. But at the same time, thanks to technology, that we are globally talking to each other, we are connected to so many nationalities. So isn't that such a beautiful thing to have? So friends, concrete. We need to have a concrete information, data points, content to share with each other. And the entire discussion should be contextual. Your team wants to talk to you about a particular topic, and they're not worried about what else is going in the world around. So very important that you stick to the topic. And then credibility, of course, your commitment, your truthfulness, and your genuine concern, genuine feeling to share what you have learned through your R&D or through your studies during preparation for your main topic. And then, of course, coherent, being consistent, being cautious, what you are conveying, you are at it. So I hope there are, it's making sense to everyone. Thank you, Rosemary, for agreeing with me. Thank you, Dalip. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Vanshi. All right. Hassan says, what is the difference between verbal and oral communication? Well, wow, very good question. Okay, we'll take that. What is concise? Concise is to the point. You know, we are giving a concise information. I hope, Nafisa, I'm clear that. So it is again a vocabulary word. And this is a very tricky question, my dear friend, verbal and oral. So you also got me into thinking this thing. Oral and verbal. Well, oral can be what you are reading also. Oral can be what I'm saying from the slide, fundamentals of communication skills. Verbal is what I am putting into. All right, we will certainly, before the session, Google it and find out. My friends here, take the question. It's a very tricky and a very smart question by Hassan Ibrahimov. You actually caught me there, verbal and oral. Let's all find it out. Verbal is use words to convey message. It could be oral or written. Of course, is when you speak. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Hannah. You saved the day here. Thank you so much, Nina. Thank you. I will be sharing the presentation here. You can ask Krisha. She can share my credentials and we can certainly share the presentation. Thank you. So fundamentals of communication skills here. Mastering communication skills involves finding the right answers to the following questions. What to communicate? What is the objective of communication? How to communicate? Whom to address? When to communicate? And how often to communicate? Thank you for all the hearts, Alia. Thank you. Okay, another answer by Fidel is verbal can be written or oral. Oral is when you talk to convey your thoughts. All right, thank you so much. I hope we are all making sense here to the question being asked. Okay, how to communicate to a person who doesn't want to listen? Very easy. Use the silence. If somebody doesn't want to listen, the person will never listen. So no point. You can actually convey your point through silence. And I will share a story there. But before that, what to communicate? I'll narrate a very small story to you. Once there was this guy who was in a group discussion and there was like a self-help group. So this person used to go and give very good inputs in the entire group. So he was liked by people. And all of a sudden, this person stops visiting the group. And of course, the quality of the discussion, it goes down with the person missing there. So the head of the group feels that this person is missing. I must go and see why is it so. He goes to the person and the person is sitting alongside a fireplace. So there is this whole fireplace and there is one log which is actually burning brightly. Now the head of the group, he sits there and then see the bright log and he slightly removes that bright log and keeps it on the side other than the entire the entire woods. So he keep the one log aside. In some time that log is out of fire and it's just, smoldering and not doing anything. All this while this guy and the head are sitting in silence because the guy doesn't want to listen. So now this person, the head of the team, he picks up the log and places it back in the fire, and the fire starts vibrantly, like it's lit up like anything. The person didn't speak a word here. Did you notice? And then he gets up to leave the no conversation room. But the guy who stopped coming to the group discussions says, I got your point, sir, and you will see me regularly from the next time. Because he understands that without that entire group, he is also useless. And with that group, the entire group's vibrancy goes high. So this is how you can communicate in silence. I hope the story makes sense to everyone.
Thank you so very much, Anuradha ma'am. We would love to take more questions, which we have noted down from you and Peruz sir now.
Sure. So, all right. So I get the point that it is very important to finish in time as well. So, all right. So I'll be more than happy to take the questions. And as I said, silence is important. So I will take silence. And I will add humor is also important. So we made quite a fun of that question on oral and verbal. That was our humor. I hope you all were with me throughout. Your questions actually steered me and gave me direction. Thank you so much, everyone. Yeah, so we are ready for the questions.
Thank you so much, Anuradha ma'am. The first question for Peruz sir. So, according to you, what time should be enough for a certain dialogue or a certain message to communicate?
Could you repeat the question once more?
According to you, what time duration should be enough for a dialogue to be conveyed or communicated?
All right, thank you very much. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So it really depends on the intention of the communicator, whether the communicator wants to engage in a long, lengthy dialogue with certain goals in mind. And the goals have to be concrete, clear, and easy to accomplish. Most of the times we engage in wasting time communicating about far-fetched dreams, goals that are not easily accomplishable. And that's why it may take even a very long amount of time for us to reach a common destination, which is like a consensus, a compromise. And that's why, according to me, I try to first, concretize the intention of the speaker, why the speaker wants to engage in a dialogue with me, and what brings us or connects us together. And if we have something in common, if I see anything accomplishable, then I would step into the communication. And usually I can predict the length of the communication based on the agenda. The communication must have an agenda of what has to be discussed, what could be the outcome, and what will be discussed during the conversation. So this is my take. Thank you.
Ma'am, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, sure, Krisha. Thank you for the answer, Feroz. It was really apt and on the point. So very important that when we are communicating, it's not the length, it's the topic. For me, I say that it is very important for us to articulate, but that is only possible if the topic is not long, because if we talk about communication, there is no I cannot complete the discussion in 3 hours also. It's a huge subject. So it's very important what the context is. Accordingly, we can articulate and take our time. That's it.
Thank you. Ma'am, sir, we have a question for you both. Sometimes we try to speak and we try to convey, but everyone gets offended, even when not intended. What can be done in such cases?
So I'll let Anuradha go first, and then I'll complete.
Sure. See, the damage has already been done. So if everyone is offended, they are offended. You can't help it. But of course, you can correct your mistakes by an apology. And first, by understanding. Because as I said, communication is not what is said. Communication is what is heard, what is understood. So it is very important for us to be kind to our audience or to maintain our interpersonal skills. And if we have already offended, then we really need to understand why. Was it intentional? If it was intentional, then work well done. If you really wanted to offend it, then you've done a great job. Don't feel sorry about that. But if you never wanted to offend anybody, then you must apologize and understand where you went wrong, because next time you will not do that. So I always feel that we should just act and learn and improvise on it. That's it.
That's well said. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Nice. Well, if you remember, I touched upon miscommunication and the situations when it may, come into being. And one of the reasons for miscommunication or the communication may, affect someone in a rather unexpectedly offensive manner is down to the fact that the person wasn't quite familiar with the other speaker. Usually some friends of mine may poke a fun on me or may, tell a joke and just, would like to have some little chit chat with me in a very casual manner. I may accept that just because we have been, getting along for quite a long time. We know each other. We know the length and extent of our jokes and humors. So that shouldn't be and wouldn't be an issue. But on the other case, when you're not so much familiar with the person and the person is trying to, really challenge your limits, I think that's not quite a good idea, because we need to really get to know who the person is. I always, keep telling to myself before telling anyone that effective communication takes place only if the both parties are familiar with each other to some extent. It is must. It is foundational that they have to know each other, because once they know, for example, if I'm talking to my Indian counterpart, I have to, bear in mind some cultural differences, some tiny subtleties that may hamper the success of our communication, which may, in some way stop the progress of our effective communication. And for all that not to happen, we need to really know who we're talking to. And we also need to know the content of our communication. Like I have shown with some illustrations, that we need to bear in mind some common interest. And it has to be, if we're having some business negotiation, then we have to sit down and talk about concrete goals that has to be easy to follow and accomplish. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. One last question to both of you. With respect to communication, what is your golden advice which should always be followed no matter what?
Okay, over to Anuradha, and then I'll finish. I'll wrap up.
Wonderful. Thank you, Peruz. You totally believe in ladies first, yeah?
Exactly.
All right.
Because communication, after all, has to start with mutual respect.
Absolutely, absolutely. You nailed it. Yeah. All right. So advice, see, one advice, wow. So I always say articulate, because people have very less patience these days. It is really difficult to listen to somebody and not being able to participate or talk. So I always say that articulate and use silence. You don't have to actually keep blabbering. You can simply make your point. You can convey your point in least of words with best of intent. So I would say, yeah, least of words and best of intent. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
That's well said. Nice. And now I'd like to share my golden tip with today's audience, and I hope they'll find it quite useful in these unsettling times of pandemic. I was recently approached by Anuradha, a young entrepreneur who wanted to do some collaborative project with me. But, unfortunately, it didn't go well just because he started off in a wrong manner. He was, a young gentleman, so-called young gentleman, who believed that he was going to, buy everything or buy anyone with his investment. He's, an investor. He wanted to invest. He wanted to throw some cash on the project, and he wanted me to be in charge of the project. But the way he approached me wasn't acceptable. At least it wasn't acceptable to me. The way of his communication seemed a bit disrespectful and a bit, unpleasant to me. So my answer was flat no to that person, just because I wanted to remind him, and I actually told him via the social media. I told him that the first and foremost thing that needs to be done for collaboration is mutual respect, and that the same goes to communication. So I've shown a quote from Zig Ziglar. He's one of the best mentors, and he said the essence, at the heart of any successful and fruitful communication lies none other than respect, and mutual respect. Something I was showing to my co-speaker, Anuradha. I'm trying to let her go first, like ladies first. This is a very simple yet very powerful mantra. When you let the lady go first, or when you let the lady do something first on a real world setting, you're showing how gentlemanly you are as a man. So this is how the communication starts. We cannot, elaborate on super powerful principles without having the respect at the heart of it, at the foundation of it. So my best golden tip to all of those wonderful viewers. Now I'm seeing more than 300 live viewers. I think that has never happened on Mentimeter. It's amazing. So to all those people who are watching us now in real time, and probably who are about to watch the recorded version, my golden tip is always be respectful in communication with any kind of person, in any kind of setting, in all kind of purposes. You have to remind yourself that you are going to respect the person who you're going to involve in communication. Only then you can think of other business deals, collaboration, projects, and all that jazz may just go well. But without mutual respect, nothing is going to work. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful, Peruz. Thank you so much for that insight. Mutual respect.
My pleasure.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you.
It's been a great pleasure having you as my co-speaker.
So it is. Yeah, thank you so much. And it was wonderful sharing the platform with you. An amazing audience from all over, and 320. Yeah, it's a wonderful number of live audience. So great experience and great learning.
Thank you, Anuradha man. Thank you, Peruz, sir, for this wonderful insights and these wonderful opportunities you have given us. We will always remember communication, the key to ace anything. Now, I would like to repeat the steps to avail e-certificate. As I told you, attend the complete webinar. You will see a thank you on the end. Click to mark your attendance and get the feedback questionnaire emailed. Fill the questionnaire you get on mail for your details. Follow our page. If all above stated steps are followed, an e-certificate will be issued online to you in 24 to 48 hours. You can get in touch with us at website www.mentormitr.com. You can email us at contact@mentormitr.com. Our Instagram handle, our Facebook handles are also right here. Please feel free to connect. Thank you for attending this webinar. A link will be generated and will be sent to you on YouTube. Kindly get in touch with us in case of any queries. Have a wonderful weekend ahead of you.
All right. So the session is over, right? Is anyone here?
Yes, sir. The session is actually over. Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. So see you in the future sessions.
Thank you.
There were some technical issues, but it's okay. Like I didn't expect to share my screen, and I wasn't ready with the transitions. I thought
Actually, sorry to interrupt.
The streaming is on. So
the streaming is on. The
Oh,
stream
really?
is on, but the session is on.
Okay. So see you.
See you. Thank you.